community. Dr. Noha, she is events and training coordinator. Also, Letwin Pondo, as a Southern African zonal coordinator. Carol, she is the event and training team member. And for me, Safinaz Mubarak as the North African zonal rep coordinator. Also, we'll have Haneen. She is a North African zonal assistant. Okay, I really appreciate your time today and thank you for joining us today. We will start with a brief about our community. Dr. Noha.
Okay, good morning and hello everyone. Thank you for participating in our session, in first session in our event. Thank you, Dr. Hans. We are honored that you accepted our invitation. Now I will present a summary about our community. African Women in GIS community. We are a community made up of African women around the world who work, study, or enthusiastic about the geospatial industry and its related fields. The community to allow its members to be themselves through our activities, to create networks, gain mentors, create careers advice, or take NGO projects to improve their portfolios, access job opportunities as well as geo courses information, and showcase their work to the world. Our mission is to create a safe space for African women in the geospatial industry in all their career levels. And our vision is that we aim to bridge the gender gap in the African geospatial industry. Our colors that indicate our identity is the leafy green that indicate to our love for nature. Each flag is the unity and support among members. Light green is the gender equality, and pure white that indicate two spaces. How we start? The community at first started in two separate countries. Chidima created her community Women in GIS in Nigeria in July 2017. And then in April 2019, Sayana created her community Women in GIS in Ghana. Then in June 2019, Chidima and Sayana, Chidima Omigo and Sayana Williams, the co-founders of the community, met on LinkedIn and discussed their reasons for creating their respective platform for women in their individual countries. In June 9, 2019, Chidima and Sayana create in October merged their communities to the African Women in GIS. And starting from January
Dr. Noha.
500 members.
Dr. Noha, your voice is unclear. Now it's clear. Please continue.
I will check the continue, please. Wait a second, please. I will the connection. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, please continue.
Okay. 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 Now our community is growing. We now are more than 500 members from more than 30 countries. And we have more than 9,000 followers in our social media platforms. Due to this growth, we currently have about 28 volunteers who help run the organization.
Sorry about this issue.
Location.
Dr. Noha.
Okay, I think it was a problem.
Your voice is speaking. We can't hear you well.
Sorry, I will check. Please a minute. Sorry for this technical problem. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay. This map shows the distribution of our members around the world. Now, what are the problems that influence our existence? We have some problem in related to the women in geospatial field and other fundamental problem. A problem like African GIS industry and other STEM fields are predominated by men. The lack of proper career guidance, problem like also of exposure to African female GIS role models. Lack of grassroots GIS benefits and applications awareness among students as well as the public. Other problems related to the careers like limited number of GIS related jobs in African countries, inaccessible GIS job information, lack of main GIS mentors for career guidance, and inaccessible of GIS events and skill upgrades courses. How are we contributing to solve these challenges? Our activities in the community for solving these challenges can be summarized in these four words: networking, learning.
Dr. Noha? Dr. Noha, we can't hear you. We can't hear your voice. Sorry about this issue, technical issue. I will Dr. Noha.
Okay, Sophie.
Okay. You are here. You can
okay.
continue.
Yes, I can continue.
Okay.
Okay. Please.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Share. Sorry for this bad connection. Let's find it. Can you show now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. This sum of events in the previous 2 years, like the participation in Esri UC and 2020. The event is with North Star. The internal event is that we organized of the interest of our members. Members speak panel when we give an opportunity to host events to encourage our member to be the speakers. Also with some collaborations with the other organization related to geospatial field. Also, our website now allow speak consultation and career exposure. The blog of our website now contains articles written by our member to for published here for exposure. Also our YouTube channel or recording of our events and training programs can be found there. Also the recording of this event will be uploaded soon. This is a summary about the mentorship program. On the last 3 cohort, we have in first one 9 mentees and 7 mentors. At the second cohort, we have 20 mentees and 14 mentors. And the third cohort, we have 22 mentees and 13 mentors. Okay, summary of African GIS. Our community has created a platform which is a source of motivation for African women to take up career paths in GIS. We aim to expand in the coming years to support more African women in GIS industry and to reduce the younger generation to can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
And its related field is always as fundamentally bridging the gender gap in the African geospatial industry. And we open to fellow African women in Africa and all the world who wish to join our Slack and WhatsApp group. Please follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter and view our websites. The links of the social media platform, our website, and the link to join the community will be shared in the chat box. Thank you, and sorry for this connection problems. Now I am honored to introduce Dr. Hans to start his presentation.
Thank you. I will start screen sharing. Okay, good day, everybody. I'm honored to present here for you about ChatGPT in QGIS with the ChatGPT plugin. It will be a little broader than that. I'm also happy to see from the previous presentation what the community does, and I think that's really good and useful work. So I hope that this kick-off on the AI series is useful. So I would stick a bit to the fundamentals of it. So let's start. Well, if you get the task to present about ChatGPT in QGIS with the ChatGPT plugin, it's also good to try to ask maybe ChatGPT what you could present. So I asked ChatGPT, if you have that title, how could you structure your presentation? It says I have to start with an introduction, introducing myself and an overview of the presentation, then explain what QGIS is, then explain ChatGPT, then about the plugin, highlight features of and benefits, and then share use cases, give a demonstration, and then conclude, give the main points covered in the presentation, encourage the audience to try it, and then the Q&A. That's already quite a nice idea for an outline of this webinar, but I've deviated a bit because you will find out that human creativity goes a bit beyond what such an AI language model can offer, but it can give you, as you see, a good start to spark your own creativity to modify this idea into what you're going to see today in the webinar. So as ChatGPT suggested, I will introduce first myself. I'm Hans van der Kwast. By background, I'm a physical geographer specialized in GIS and remote sensing. My main job is at IHE Delft Institute for Water Education. I'm an associate professor of open science and digital innovation there. I teach in subjects related to GIS and water. I did my master's and PhD at Utrecht University in the Netherlands. I'm also now in the Netherlands in Rotterdam. And after that, I was a researcher at the Flemish Institute for Technological Research in Flanders, the northern part of Belgium. And they are very much known for the satellite data processing that they do. But I was working for the environmental modeling unit, making land use change models and water quality models. Since 2012, I work at IHE Delft, which is the largest postgraduate education institute specialized in water in the world, and we offer master programs and also short courses for professionals, and our main target group is in the global south. I'm also very much involved in open source communities, and especially in QGIS. I'm a board member of the Dutch QGIS user group, and I'm also the owner of my own company, Kwast GIS, to offer support in open source software. And I'm also a member of Q Cooperative, which is a cooperation of developers in QGIS to offer commercial support. I'm also co-author of the book QGIS for Hydrological Applications that I wrote with Kurt Menke. And last year, the second edition came out with all the newest features of QGIS included. And yeah, if you want to find me, I'm on most social media channels, and you can follow and subscribe to my YouTube channel to find all kind of nice videos about QGIS, Python, and other stuff related to open source GIS. Before we start, I also have a few announcements. So I'm active in the QGIS community, and I'm very happy that for the first time we can now host the QGIS user conference in the Netherlands. Maybe you've noticed the strange name on the new splash screen of QGIS. It's 's-Hertogenbosch. You can try to pronunciate it, which is a city in the Netherlands where in April we will organize the user conference. And the user conference has a lot of nice presentations. There are a few keynotes, and there are workshops. And until 1st of April, you can get an early bird ticket with some discount. I know it's quite expensive if you're from the global south, but maybe you can find a way to still join. I do my best to have people joining through the book fund that we have with the book QGIS for Hydrological Applications. When people buy the book, they contribute to a book fund. And I'm happy to announce here that we are supporting Zubida Nemer from Algeria. She will present at the user conference on monitoring crop water productivity in the Mitidja Plain, Algeria, using the FAO WAPOR data and QGIS. FAO has an open data portal. There are also QGIS plugins for using that. Yeah, I think it's very nice that we can have also women from the Global South, from Africa, joining these conferences. We also support Suzanne Dehati from Afghanistan. She is a student of IHE Delft, almost graduating, and she will present about equity assessment in transboundary water resources management using remote sensing data and QGIS. And we're also supporting her to join the International Phosphor-G conference in Kosovo. So follow these fantastic researchers on social media and see what they are going to do in the next months. So let's start with the content of the presentation. I think indeed it's a good idea from ChatGPT to start with explaining what ChatGPT is. It stands for Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It's with a cryptical name, and it's developed by OpenAI. It is a cutting-edge AI language model, and that means that it can generate high-quality, human-like text in response to a prompt. We're going to discuss prompts and how to formulate good prompts. But I think the main difference with previous AI tools that this is really a big step forward in providing responses in more human understandable language, and that it also understands humans much better. Therefore, it has a wide range of applications. You can use it in chatbots, customer service on your web shop, content creation. It can help you writing articles or your blogs, even phrasing your emails and translating languages, but in a different way than Google does it, for example, really using AI technology for that. So it has a lot of potential to transform how we communicate with computers. And I think we're also just at the beginning of that and exploring. So it's a very new topic. It only ChatGPT was only accessible since a few months, and there are now new versions, version 4. I'll talk a little bit about that. So this presentation doesn't imply to know all the, or to present you all the solutions of what we can do with it, but rather spark ideas in your creativity to see what are use cases in GIS. I will give examples that can help you, but we will also be interactive. So if you have any ideas during the presentation, you can post them in the chat. And later we are also interactively going to try some prompts in ChatGPT and QChatGPT plugin. So let's talk about GIS-related use cases, because it's not limited to GIS, but since our focus is GIS, let's see what it can offer. First of all, a chatbot interface, standalone, but also integrated, and that's also what the QChatGPT plugin is. So while you're using the GIS tools, you can ask questions that can help you to find out the workflow or data that you need or locations in the world. But it can also improve, for example, the accuracy of geocoding. The problem with geocoding is that there are many errors in addresses and misspellings, and using artificial intelligence, we can improve the accuracy and make the job easier to do geocoding. We can use ChatGPT to help us to automate processes of spatial analysis because it is very good in generating code snippets. It's quite a good programmer, as you will see. Of course, you need some expert knowledge to judge it and to integrate it in your own tool, but it can give you a really good start of this. And you can use it maybe to query GIS data using natural language. So bring it more to end users rather than experts to query the data, because it might get better and better in translating human language of asking questions to the queries in query languages that we use, like SQL or even the toolboxes that we have, or using Python. It could also potentially provide design recommendations for maps based on user preferences and data characteristics. So if you formulate your prompt, you can indicate your target group and what data you want to communicate, and then it can maybe come up with ideas how to best design it for that target group. And some dots here to say that there are probably many other use cases that we didn't think about yet, and there is just a starting point. I've seen blogs being written about it and YouTube videos being created. So I think this is really the moment to think about how would you use this, and with the further developments of AI, how are you going to use tools like ChatGPT to improve your work, but also knowing the restrictions. We'll also focus, of course, on the restrictions. So the prompt is really key in using these tools. So the prompt is where you ask your question to the chatbot. And you see it here on the lower right. So here you have ChatGPT, and here on the lower right, you can type your prompt. There's some examples given here. And I found a nice blog from Tom Barrett explaining some tool, the Create framework to write good prompts. And it starts with clarity. You need to clearly define the task or the intent of the prompt, and you need to include also specific information about the expected output. For example, if you want the output to be in a certain format, or like a GeoJSON, or if you want to have a Python script, you need to explain that. Otherwise, you will get maybe not what you need. Also the tools, of course, if you need to have the procedure explained for QGIS, then you need to specify that. The R stands for relevant info. You need to provide relevant details, including the specific keywords and facts, the tone, audience, format, and structure. For technical things, it's more important to provide the relevant details. If you are writing or using ChatGPT to create articles or emails, you need to be very specific about the tone and the format and the structure. Then E stands for examples. You can use examples in the prompt to give more context to ChatGPT to guide you to the output and to narrow down the amount of possibilities. The A stands for avoid ambiguity. So, as I said, you can go into many different directions with the answers, and ChatGPT just has to make choices there. So if you are avoiding unnecessary details and focus on the key information, you would get probably closer to the direction that you want. T stands for tinker. So you probably need to do this in an iterative process. So maybe your first prompt didn't give the desired results, but then you can modify it and run it again. And you can also rerun the same prompt. It will sometimes give different answers. Then E stands for evaluate. This is a very important part of it. You need to continuously evaluate the output because the quality might not always be good. And there's also where the need for expertise come in. So we still need people to be educated in GIS, for example, in order to judge the output of ChatGPT. We'll touch the challenges later. But let's first have a look at it. If I want to find out a GIS analysis procedure, then I can ask ChatGPT how to deal with that. So I'm going to move ChatGPT here, and we can start this new chat. So for people who are new to ChatGPT, you can simply go to chat.openai.com, and there you need to create an account. It's free. For ChatGPT 3, it's free. And then after you've logged in, you can simply use it. Sometimes it's crowded, so you have to wait, or it can give errors. Could happen also during this presentation. Therefore, I have screenshots with some of the answers, but would be nice if it works when we try it live. So I will give it a prompt. I will say, so I will just talk to it like a human. Please give me the steps on how to delineate streams and catchments in QGIS. So that's also what I have a lot of materials on. So I wonder what then ChatGPT would answer. So here we get the steps. It says, first, acquire the digital elevation model data. and then load the DEM data into QGIS using the Add Raster Layer button. So far, it seems correct. Pre-processing the DEM, you can pre-process it by removing sinks, depressions or flat areas, using Saga or GRASS tools in QGIS. Use the processing toolbox and then type fill in the search box to find the tool. Then it skips a few steps. It seems to define the outlet, the flow direction. If you search for that in the toolbox, you will not find it because you will need plugins for that to do it. So it gives quite some guidelines on how to get to the result, but probably it lacks a few details to go to the end result, or there can be things wrong. I see also it gets snippets from text that I have produced in the past. But you could always ask more details by focusing on a step and asking further about it. You could also use this for finding results in Python. So we see here there's something called filling the sinks. So with hydrology, you need to remove depressions that are artificial because of data acquisition of the DEM. So you could ask here to write Python script. So I'm specific here. I want a Python script that uses, again, I'm going to be very specific, white box tools, and I want the package, uses the white box tools package for Python, so it will not give me the executable, to fill sinks in a digital elevation model, DEM. And then you can also hit enter and it starts generating. And it gives here the script. I know some of my students are watching now and are thinking like, if I would have known that when you were teaching Python, I'm glad you didn't know, but it has an impact on the way we teach because you need different skills. It can help you writing the code, but you now need to focus on the skills to evaluate what it gives and how you use this in your process, which maybe is a more important skill than writing code from scratch. We are already copying a lot of code in open source, which is allowed, and modify and adjust it to our own needs. So this is, I think, a helpful tool to save a lot of time finding code, but focus more on how do we integrate the code in our own process. So here, if I look at the code, it has syntax highlighting, which is very helpful. It says that I need to import Whitebox and the OS package to work with the operating system. I need to set the path. You see it comments, very useful, so you can learn from it, how it works. And then it runs here the fill sinks tool. If it works or not, you just need to try it. There's a button here to copy the code. And it gives an explanation outside of the code. And it also gives the assumption. So note that you will need to have the Whitebox tools package installed on your system and in your system's path for the script to work. So that is very useful. Now, if you have anything you want me to try here, feel free to post it in the chat. Maybe you already have some ideas. No, not yet. Maybe we'll check it later. And I'll go back to my presentation. Oh, I see a question there. Let's take the question. The question is, find the shortest path between 2 points. Okay, I'm going to do that a bit more explicit because we need to modify the prompt. So you would start with, I have a shapefile with points. And I want to find the shortest path between 2 points. How do I do that in QGIS. Let's see. So it suggests to install a plugin. It explains how to install the plugin. You need to load the point shapefile. You need to create the network using this network analysis plugin, etc., etc. So it will give you the answer, and you need to try and find out if the answer is correct or not, but at least it can give you guidance to do that. So we will later look at using this in QGIS itself through the plugin, which is very similar. So I'm just showing you now, I saw the question in the chat, I'm just showing you now how you would do it outside of QGIS, more generic. So you can do this for any tool. So I could also modify this prompt now. So back here, I could go here and edit the prompt. And I could say here to do that with Python. I see a question, does your English grammar need to be good? Well, not that good. I've seen YouTube videos where there was not correct English used and it still gives an answer. So it's more flexible with that than I think other things. It will also use AI to interpret what you say. So if you make spelling mistakes or shortcuts in your grammar, it will probably still try to understand what you mean. But I think it's always good to formulate it very clearly and correctly so you get the right result. So here we get a Python script to find the shortest path using GeoPandas and network X library and Shapely. And then you can try if that works. And if you bump into errors, you can also discuss the error with ChatGPT. So that's very useful. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. So we've seen that it's useful to find out procedures, also to use code snippets that we can then use in our own tool development. It will save us a lot of time because we don't need to find out everything from scratch, although we need to be aware that there can be mistakes. So I've used it already a bit. It needs some trial and error, but the advantage is it saves you a lot of time, because even if you look up for snippets yourself, you need a lot of trial and error to make things work finally. There's a question here. I'm wondering if one day we will find ChatGPT capabilities to be the same as Midjourney and other AI image creator to take what we describe and us to implement directly into QGIS and other GIS applications just by describing inside the prompt. That could be. We don't know where the future goes, but there's already from the same developers the DALL-E 2, and you can there give a prompt and it will give you back an image. And that is already looking very nicely. The only risk is that things become more black box, because AI is in essence a black box. It uses here a lot of data, and then your prompt is analyzed, and some black box procedures help in answering your question. But you also don't know in the end if the answer to your question is correct. Even now with, for example, QGIS, a lot of nice buttons, etc. People just push buttons, get a nice map out of it. It doesn't say that the map is correct, but there we still have the possibility to look into the source code and to correct it if there are mistakes, or to contribute to make it better. But with AI, it doesn't work like that. It just formulates a very clear, eloquent answer to your question, but you really need to be critical to see if it produces what you need. To the question if it is also applicable to ArcGIS, the ChatGPT, as I was demonstrating, can be used to ask questions about ArcGIS. If there's a plugin available inside ArcGIS, I don't know, because I don't use ArcGIS. I only use QGIS and other open source tools. And we see that developments go there very fast. So I think QGIS was very quick with having a plugin to use ChatGPT. Okay, good questions. In this slide, I want to explain the difference between ChatGPT 3 versus version 4. So you might have heard that there was very recently a new version of ChatGPT called ChatGPT 4. And it is more powerful than ChatGPT 3 because it has been based on 170 trillion parameters. Can you not even imagine that? Instead of the 175 billion parameters used in the ChatGPT 3 model. It's also better trained, and therefore it is the chance that you get more factual information is higher than with ChatGPT 3. Also, the chances of generating fake news is therefore lower. ChatGPT 4 is also multimodal. That means that you can not only add text, but it can also include images in your queries to ChatGPT. It also allows to process larger text, so you can go up to 25,000 words at a time. I don't know by heart the ChatGPT 3 limits, but it's much less. And they did some tests with letting ChatGPT 3 and 4 doing exams and like benchmarks, and they see that ChatGPT 4 is much better in those machine learning benchmarks and doing exams. There's also the problem that these language models are trained on data from the internet mostly. And there's also a bias. I think it's always interesting to think about what the bias could be. Still, most of the people using internet because of connection are from the global north. So there can be a bias to what people from the global north write there. There's probably also more male input than female input. And there's also content that is fake news by its nature from maybe right-wing populists. There can be racist content. There can be other inappropriate content. And there are in these AI tools that are for the public kind of filters for that. But I think we make ourselves also depending on the developers of these tools, because they decide on the filters that you want to use or that are applied to your queries to not find inappropriate content. But who decides what is inappropriate? And there's still a lot of work to do on making tools like ChatGPT representative at a global scale and not only trained on global north data. Another difference is that ChatGPT 4 is a paid service. However, you can access it for free through Bing, and we're going to look at it. This is the animation on the right side all the time. So I can access my Bing, here in my browser, in the Microsoft Edge browser. And there's this button for ChatGPT, and it opens this panel, and I can choose here if I want a creative, balanced, or precise answer. And we can compare what it does in ChatGPT 4 with the same prompt that we used in ChatGPT 3. So I'm going to ask here also, please give me the steps how to delineate streams and catchments in QGIS. And then it is a bit slower than ChatGPT 3, but it is more complete. So let's wait for the answer. Meanwhile, if you have ideas for prompts, you can still post them in the chat. So here it suggests to use the GRASS toolbox and use GRASS tools to delineate streams and a catchment. You can also use Saga to get the same result. There's video tutorials, and if I look at these tutorials, then it looks very much like tutorials that I have posted on my YouTube channel. So quite happy to see that it takes this up in a video that I made about QChatGPT that came out when the plugin just came out. It made up a lot of this kind of information, as you can see in that video, with YouTube channels that don't exist, references that I have never heard of, and without mentioning these kind of resources that I've produced. So there's a question from Tricia. if I could demonstrate how to use the image processing feature in the QGIS use case, I'll see what we can do with it. It's just about giving good prompts, so maybe you can think along when we go to the demonstration later. There's a remark here, results that come from Microsoft Edge is not accurate than ChatGPT. No, the point here is that this chat uses ChatGPT 4. And if you want to use ChatGPT 4 through OpenAI, you need to pay, and here it is free. So I think that is useful if you can't afford to pay for ChatGPT 4, that you can still use Bing then. Of course, that is how for Microsoft how to market their products, and probably really a game changer that Bing now becomes more important maybe than Google. Google also uses AI, but Microsoft is a stakeholder in the OpenAI project. So therefore they have free access to ChatGPT 4 and could integrate it there in Bing, as far as I understood. Another question is, could it be that ChatGPT may mistakenly suggest QGIS information derived from previous versions? Yes, also the training data is until 2021. There can be many different types of mistakes. It can be that it mixes up procedures that it finds on the internet. It can be outdated information, and it can be simply wrong information, because there are also mistakes on the internet. There's a question, what is the name of my YouTube channel? You simply do @ and then my full name, but I can post later the link in the chat, or maybe someone else can do that. Does QChatGPT work same way as ChatGPT? We'll get to there. Sorry, I'm using suspense here because I think it's useful that you learn more first about ChatGPT 3 and 4, and then we go to QGIS, and we'll be soon. Okay. There's a nice resource here. We can provide these links also later about comparing ChatGPT 3 and 4, and more complete than these bullet points that I provide here. So let's go back to the presentation. Sorry. So from opportunities for education point of view, because you can look at the negative side, but I think we can't avoid it. So students are going to use it. You probably are using it already in some way. So I think it's much better to see the positive side of it and how we can use this in education. And I found a few resources on the internet. For example, Khan Academy is quite progressive with this. And as you can see in these screenshots, it would really deal with questions of participants in a way that they learn instead of giving directly the answer. So here you see a participant asking, can you just tell me the answer? And it won't. It will say it's important that you learn to do it by yourself. And then it gives you some hints, and then it continues the discussion to help the participant answering the question. That's also what in real life as lecturers, we find out that yeah, students expect often, especially from certain learning cultures, that people like me, lecturers, give directly the answers. But we are not paid to give you the answer. We are paid to make you independent, to learn something and to find the answer yourself. Because after your graduation, yeah, it's not appropriate if you send every question by email to us or bother people with questions that are easily to answer. So I think these kind of chatbots can help with that. I also get a lot of questions on my YouTube channel, which I think a chatbot would also be helpful to answer, because there are a lot of repeating questions. How do I install PC Raster Tools plugin, for example? And there's also a plugin for Moodle. So we at IHE Delft use Moodle, an open source learning environment. I'm very happy that we use an open source learning environment. And another nice page where you can go is gisopencourseware.org. And maybe someone can also paste that in the chat. That is where you can find free courses on open source GIS, so only open source tools. You don't need to register on the platform. You simply click on a tile to follow the course. But I'm imagining that with this new plugin for a chatbot in Moodle, we can also use that on these kind of open platforms where you can ask questions. But participants of those courses should be also aware that it doesn't always provide the correct answer. So it will also be tricky. Okay, now let's start to what you're waiting for. Sorry to take time to get to that point. Is that there's a plugin for QGIS, the QChatGPT plugin, and it has been around for some weeks now, or a month, I think. It has been developed by Marios Kyriakou from Cyprus. He works at the QGIS Research and Innovation Center of Excellence. So credits to him for developing this super nice plugin. And he released his first 0.1 version in the public repository of plugins of QGIS on 12th of February. And I quickly found it and I was exploring use cases, and he didn't give any use case. It was just, there was the plugin, and probably just fiddle with it and try out what you can do with it. So I started doing that, and then I recorded a video on my YouTube channel to show possible use cases, but also show that things are not always correct. And that triggered a lot of attention on LinkedIn. And what I see is people mostly see only the positive side of it, but I also show that it is bullshitting a lot. In fact, they call that in artificial intelligence hallucinating. So these AI chatbots, they can start hallucinating, which means they will never say that they don't know the answer, but they will just make up an answer, which is very dangerous. So the current version is 0.3. And I think the programmer took into account a few things from my video. For example, he added a button to add a point directly from the GeoJSON format that the chatbot produces to QGIS, so you can really plot the point. We will look at that. And this plugin basically integrates the OpenAI API in QGIS. So let's have a look. I will have the newest version of QGIS open here, version 330 's-Hertogenbosch. You can still try to pronunciate that. And when you want to install the plugin, go to the Plugins Manager, Manage and Install Plugins. And there you simply look for QChatGPT. I've already installed it. It will install automatically, normally, all the dependencies. And what is very important, if you search for a plugin, always, I advise, if it's a new plugin that you just want to try, always check the homepage of the people who made the plugin, because it gives you essential information on how to install the plugin or all kinds of other information. I've seen that Marios has updated a page on that, and very interesting for you to go to that page and see that there are videos. So it starts here with my video from his first version that was public. And then there are other people posting videos in different languages. So you find here other videos that you can have a look at. I also like the one from BirdGIS, who builds a bit on my experience with the plugin, but then with the new one, and tries Python and SQL also in ChatGPT. So have always a look at the plugin homepage. So I've already installed it, so we can just go ahead. After installing, you will find this button here, QChatGPT, or in the plugins menu, you can find QChatGPT and go to the same point. But it's always easy to use this button. In this newer version of QChatGPT, it will dock here at the bottom. You can also undock it, but it's nice to have it here now at the bottom. And yeah, let's add some data here. Maybe you know the Easter eggs, it's almost Easter. You can add here, you can type in the coordinate field some things. And if you type there world, it will load the world map from the Natural Earth dataset. So now I have some data we can try QChatGPT on. So let's start with a question here. First, what you need to do is in the settings, add your API key. Now, if I click here, it doesn't work. I think that's a little bug. But if you click right, you can copy the link location and use that in a browser. Well, you can just follow there to get the API key, or maybe I'll just show it quickly. So I paste here the link. And because I'm already logged in, I can see here the API key, but if you don't see it, you can create a new secret key. Now, the issue is that the plugin at this moment doesn't store the key. And if you go back to this place, it will not show you the full key. It will never show you. So what you need to do is when you generate the key, you need to copy it and save it on your hard disk. So you have it at hand next time when you use the plugin. Otherwise, every time you need to create a new secret API key. And once you have that API key, you can paste it here. So I need to paste it there. Let me see where I have it here. The other things here before I paste it, because I'm going to do that quickly so nobody can no, I'll change the API key, don't worry. So there are different language models here, and the ChatGPT 3 one is this DaVinci 003 version, which is the default. Temperature, I didn't really figure out what that means. And the maximum length is the amount of characters. Because using the API key, and that's maybe good to know first, you have some credits. So if I look here at usage, then you see that you get for free $18. And every time you ask a question through the API, it will cost you your credits. So here you can see what I've spent until now, and it's not very expensive. So I've tested for this webinar and didn't spend much on it. And you could also see, I think, really your usage requests. So yesterday when I was doing this, you could see here 21 requests, the times, and then what I did. So how many prompts, and then how many tokens you use. So everything is quite transparent. There's just a delay of around 5 minutes for this. Okay, back to QGIS. I'm going to paste the API key here, and then I can use the chat. The first thing I would like to know is if it can give me a point in Zambia, but it can only answer in text. So I need the GeoJSON format. So please give me a point in Zambia in GeoJSON format. When I hit enter, it will connect to the API and it comes back with this point. Then I click here, add map, add point on the map. And there indeed, the point is in Zambia. And that works nicely. If you want to have boundaries, the GeoJSON will be very long. It will cost you a lot of credits, and probably it will cut it off because it's too long. So it works, from my experience, very well with getting points. Now I would like to make it a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to now paste a question here. What I want to do is, we have this world map, and there's in the attribute table, there is the name field. And I want the chatbot to come up with a PyQGIS script to print the names of the countries in the Python editor of QGIS. So I'm pasting here, that's the API key. I need to paste the question that I prepared. So the prompt is, in the QGIS layers panel, I have a layer world map. Write the PyQGIS script that prints the names of the countries that are stored in the field name. So very specific prompt. And it gives me here some code. So I'm going to open the Python console of QGIS. I need some more space. I'm going to hide here the layer styling panel. And I could just copy this. I think we have that already when we do Python there. So just paste it here and run. And here I get the names of all the countries. Can be better styled. I did this yesterday, gave slightly different code, and it gave it nicely in printed per name. So the answers are not always the same because it's artificial intelligence, and same question can lead to different answers, but it does what I want. It gives here the list of countries in the list format of Python. Okay, now it would be nice to, oh, there's a question. Please, could you explain one more the importance of the API key? Without the API key, you cannot use this tool in QGIS because it needs an API key to give you access to the API. An API is an application programming interface and basically translates your question here to the server where ChatGPT is and receives then back the answer from ChatGPT, and then the plugin can interpret that result and parse it to you as the user. So it's essential that you have the API key, otherwise it will tell you that you don't have one and you can't use it. Let's try another question, because we also sometimes need some data. This world map is nice, but what about giving me an XYZ layer URL for using Google Satellite in QGIS? Let's see. There it is. It gives me a URL for the XYZ layer. So I'll copy this URL. And here I see XYZ tiles, and I can simply add a new connection. And I call this Google Satellite. And I'll paste it here. And do OK. And it's added here. And then I add it to the map canvas, and I have the Google Satellite. And go here somewhere to see the details that are then available. So that works. Very nice. Then something that's also useful, what I showed in my previous video on this is what is the coordinate projection of some country? And let's try it for the Netherlands. So what's the coordinate projection of the Netherlands? And it gives, it's really not consistent, because yesterday it gave a really correct answer with the EPSG code and the name of the projection, but here it gives me the European Terrestrial Reference System, which is not our national projection. So let's just try it again. I can show you that it also doesn't have context. So I can say, can you try this again? The projection doesn't seem correct. And it gives some answer like, I will try it again and make sure the projection is correct before submitting. It's doing nothing because it doesn't know what you submitted before. So I need to just run the same question again. And I get again an other one. Okay, let's do it then differently, because yesterday it gave it really nicely. What is the EPSG code of the projection for the Netherlands? And that's correct. It's 28992. We could use that then in QGIS to set the projection of the project to 28992. And now this part of Africa is in the Dutch projection, but here it looks as we are used to see our country. Okay, if you have any prompts I want to, I need to try, just tell me. I'm going to try some procedure here. How can I create a layer with random points in QGIS? Has to think a bit. And there it gives me the whole procedure. Also here it gives a more complicated answer than it gave me yesterday. Because yesterday it told me that I could just go to vector and then analysis tools, research tools, random points. But now it gives a different one. So you need to try different answers to come up with one that is the shortest way or the one that works best for you. This might also work, but it's a bit more complicated than the easy one. Some more questions here. Do you mean the ChatGPT accessible for everyone for free in QGIS? Yes, it uses ChatGPT 3 and it's for free. You only need to make an account and have the API key, otherwise you can't use it. Does it not look very easy now to handle QGIS and other tools with ChatGPT? Yeah, but you need to be critical to its outputs, so you cannot 100% believe what it comes up with. For example, if I would ask, give me the location of IHE Delft in GeoJSON format. Let's see. Edit on the map. This one, 4.3, this one. Okay, zoom to layer. So it is in Delft, but it's not in our institute. It's off. Our institute is here. So you cannot really rely on such details if you give an address. So you need to always check it. It's a question I missed out on how to generate Python code for the boundary extraction. Well, I didn't really show that, but I think you can watch back this recording and try it, but I will maybe try some other code here. So can you ask it Python script to extract shapefile from different directories and merge it in a single shapefile? Yes, you can ask that. The question is if you want that using PyQGIS or if you want to use it Python in general. For the chatbot, it really doesn't matter. So let's try that prompt and formulate it nicely. So write a Python script to extract I would reformulate this already. That merges all shapefiles in a folder into a single shapefile. Your question probably in your formulation would also work, but you could try and maybe need to iterate if it was not clear for the chatbot. And here you get it back. It comes up with a GeoPandas kind of solution because it doesn't know that we are in QGIS. So if I would repeat this question, let me see if I can just copy. If Marius is watching this, it would be nice to have a repeat button. Of course, I can also do a commit myself for that. Write a PyQGIS script. Now let's see what it comes up with. So now it uses PyQGIS. So it will use the glob, which is something that can loop over your files and give you a list of all the shape files. And then it can write it there. Now you have to try this, and it probably will give also errors, and then you can iterate to fix it. But it gives you a good starting point, but you have to be critical to it. Another one, let's just try one more. If I have a layer with country polygons in QGIS, how do I calculate the area of the polygons? So I have that nice world map, and I want to know the area of each country. Oh, sorry, zoom to layer. It's not working. Not sure why. Anyways, I'll use the prompt. And it says, go to the attribute table, add field, create new field area, use the expression editor $area, click OK. And that's indeed the answer to that. Yeah. It's a question, how can you get the API key? It's very simple. You go to settings, you click right on this link, you copy the link location, and you paste it in your browser. And then you will see how to copy your API key, and then you can edit here. You need to make an account there. Okay, are there any other prompts you want me to try here? Please let me know in the chat. Otherwise, we go to the last slides. not, I think you're trying it maybe yourself already, which is great. Then let's go back to my slides. Nope. Doesn't seem to load. Maybe I got it stuck. Let's reload it. So I only have one more slide on the conclusions. So if it doesn't load, then it shouldn't be a problem. The takeaways I got from this is that it is a useful tool as a chatbot to help you finding some direction of your solution in GIS with programming or in tools, but that you always need to be critical to its outputs. Let me just try again. This will be helpful if the slide loads. There it is. Okay, so it's useful for GIS analysis procedures, writing code, finding projections, finding points, roughly, not specific addresses. That doesn't work. But be careful, you still need your GIS expertise. So if you're learning GIS, doing masters on GIS, following courses, you don't do it for nothing. You cannot be replaced yet. I'm also not sure if that will happen in the future. We can't predict that, but you need to judge the responses. I think that becomes a very important skill. You need to fix errors of the code snippets because you will find out that it will give you code, but there's still things you need to fix. And you need to fact check when ChatGPT starts hallucinating. So with this, I would like to end the presentation. And if there are any questions, then let me know. I see if the PowerPoint presentation will be available. Yes, I can share it with you.
Thank you, Dr. Hans.
Welcome.
I'm really appreciate your presentation. It's really amazing. There is another question from Celia. Can I use Python script from ChatGPT to extract building footprints in QGIS?
That's a specific question. I think if you tell ChatGPT maybe a little bit more on where you want to get the data from, you could try with this open question and see what it comes up with, but you can also say using using OpenStreetMap data or some other specific data. Or if you want to extract it from satellite images. I often also get these kind of questions, even more broad. I think this one was quite okay, and we can go in a few directions there. But sometimes people on my YouTube channel ask, I need QGIS to solve climate problem. Can you tell me how? And you can understand that we can go into 1,000 different directions. So with a chatbot, that's even more complicated because it will have all this information on the internet and it will just randomly choose one direction if you are too broad in your question. So it's a good question, but try to refine it such a way that you get to an answer that's also useful for you. You know how to use the tool, you know how to find the data, etc.
Okay, thanks. Dear audience, if you have any more questions, please drop it to chat box so Dr. Hans can answer it before ending this event. I guess there is no more questions.
Okay. I am posting the link to the presentation in the chat. So if you want to view it, you can view it there.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Hans. Someone said, can I share image like soil profile images?
With ChatGPT 4, you can do something with images. I don't know how specific your question here is, but interpretation of images is with ChatGPT 4. With ChatGPT 3, you cannot. And ChatGPT 3 is only integrated in QGIS. So you probably have to wait a bit for having those kind of questions. Okay, can I search images like soil profile of Amsterdam? You can ask ChatGPT if it knows resources where you can find soil profiles for the Netherlands and for Amsterdam, and then see what it comes up with. So I would say after watching this, you just try and explore and see what it comes up with. And sometimes it will be very helpful. And sometimes you think this guy is hallucinating and I can't trust what the chatbot is saying.
Okay, another one asked, what is your opinion in AI in the future of GIS?
Good question. We
Yeah.
don't know the future. I think it will help us a lot, but I think for many people it will also cause a lot of problems. Because if you are not skilled and you rely too much on this, I think the world will face a lot of fake news in the next decades, because this AI can generate so many things that we cannot really control. I was very pleased to see that the Bing ChatGPT 4 shows us the references, so you know where it gets the information, but all the other things we asked in this session, we don't get the references, and we tend to believe what it says, which is not always a good idea.
Okay, great, Dr. Hans. Any more questions? Okay, before I end my presentation, I will thank Dr. Hans for wonderful and amazing presentation. We really enjoyed with this new technique, and really thank your time, all audience. I really appreciate your time. And before I end, I will let you know that next Saturday, the 1st of April, we will have another session about ChatGPT and GIS. Please stay tuned. If you have any question, please drop it before the ending. Okay, thanks all. The recording video will be uploaded on our YouTube channel in few days. You can watch it again. Thanks all. Thanks.
Thank you all. Ramadan Mubarak.
Yeah, thank you. Ramadan Mubarak to all audience, Muslim audience. Hope to see you all in next sessions.